Hi, I'm Dave,
And I'm Paul.
and we're going to challenge you to transform your financial future through the principles of the most profitable business in the world, banking.
We believe everyone should be involved in two businesses, the business that you're in and the banking business. Everyday people can replicate what bankers have been doing for centuries to leverage capital and build wealth through private lending.
Join us as we uncover the truths about money, expose lies and myths, and flip conventional financial advice on its head. Here we go. All right. Hey, Paul, how you doing, buddy?
Better now.
Better now?
You know why.
Yeah. All the things we talk about before we hit record.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, hey, happy 4th of July, everybody. I know this is a 4th of July week. Should be hopefully a good week for everybody. Everybody gets some time off because it falls like right in the middle of the week, kind of. So,
Yeah, when is it? That's like a Wednesday or Thursday or something?
yeah, like a Thursday, I
have
think.
no
so,
idea.
Which is pretty nice because, it's like, what days do you take off? Well, shoot, might as well just take off the whole week. That's what I'm doing.
Go ahead and take the whole week, Dave.
Yeah, we're taking the week off and heading up to a cabin up north.
Awesome.
Yeah. So hopefully the weather works out and we can just get away and kind of disconnect for a while. Unplug. Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you
it's
guys
good to
doing?
do. Just unwind, put the phone down.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go, when you got kids, you have to go somewhere where there's no service in order to put the phone down. So,
Yeah, you need to buy one of those giant Faraday bags and just throw all the devices in there, and they're just, they go
yeah.
no reception, nothing. Like, all right, kids, there's a bunch of tapes over there with movies from the 1980s. Here you go.
Yeah.
Begin your education.
Pro-America. Those are the best pro-America movies anyway, 1980s era.
Yeah. Commando.
Yeah. Top
Actually,
Gun.
that's more, I
friggin'
don't know, that's
Rambo,
like
Rocky.
pro-dad maybe than pro-America. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's kind of our
Tough
theme
guy.
today, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. America.
What it
Yeah,
means to
Independence
be
Day.
an American
Exactly.
and IBC.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's a lot of similarities. It's funny. You can really create a similarity between IBC and anything. I think we've given that challenge before to people like, hey, give us a topic and we'll create some similarities. We've done it with several different topics before, but it only makes sense to do it with Independence Day.
Yeah.
So, Independence Day, that the day America declared independence from Britain, from the oppressive rule of Britain, and said, hey, we're going to go it on our own. We're going to do it our way now.
Yeah. And it's funny to look back at the actual tax. It was, compared to now, it was almost nothing.
Yeah. Like
almost
the
nothing.
Tea Party was all over, wasn't it like a 2% tax
Yeah,
on tea?
it wasn't a lot, but it's the principle, right? These people, these people labored hard, and life was just more difficult in general. And I think it was kind of the no taxation without representation type of mantra, where we don't have a voice over there in Parliament, and you're taxing us. You're taxing us to death. And of course,
Yeah.
if they were alive
2%.
today, they'd be like, "What did y'all do?
What is this? You just bent
What
over and
are
took
you
it."
doing?" Yeah.
Which also, no taxation without representation. I still don't understand how they can tax anybody under 18 years old.
Yeah, since they can't vote.
They can't vote. You don't have a voice whatsoever. So
Right.
anyway, there's a lot that isn't quite right about what's happened over the last 250 years. But back to the whole point, independence, celebrating our independence from oppressive rule, declaring sovereignty over our own nation, over our own destiny, really. And IBC does the same thing. It's independence, financial independence, independence from the banking system, independence from Wall Street, and declaring your own sovereignty over your capital as much as you possibly can in this country.
Yeah, it's also, independence from when you create this system and it gets better every year, you can really secede from just listening to all the noise. It no longer matters to you. Like, I no longer care what's going on. I want to tread carefully here, but I don't have to worry about as much. Oh, the market's down. Well, that's nice.
Well, my cash value is still up.
Yeah, and I actually did something, and I normally don't do this, but I did something the other day just because I wanted to reinforce, right? Don't get amnesia. And yep, I compared the cash value from one day to the next. I think it was when we were on the trip, actually. Sure enough, it went up.
Yeah, how cool is that?
Yeah, went up.
Yep.
No, not market correlated, not correlated to anything, just correlated to be associated with a good mutual company that's acting as a good custodian of my premium dollars. So, anyway,
Yeah.
An independent company too, right? It's a mutual.
Right, private.
It's private.
Yeah, owned by the policy owners. So mutual, just like, the United States is a country made up of independent states, which is made up of citizens. So it's we all own this country, and I wish more people acted like they did, and treated it like it was something that, hey, this thing's only going to last, and behave as well as you treat it.
No question, just like your life insurance policy or your system of policies. And there's too many people that want that. And I'm seeing it pimped out there is, and we have an episode out this week. Loans are meant to be, was that this week's episode, right?
That was last week's episode.
Yeah. Loans are meant to be repaid.
Back. Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a life insurance policy loan or a loan you get on the commercial side through your bank or finance company, right? Loans are meant to be paid back. Yep. But there's all this, and I don't want to skew too far, but there's just this data out there, or content rather, that people are saying, you can take a loan and not pay it back. Well, that's partially true. It depends when you do it, how much is the loan. There's a lot of different factors that go into that statement. So it's marketing, and I get it, and it's likely effective marketing, but we need to tread carefully here, and that's why we kind of like to not try to make this better than it is.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that, I think, with some of the topics we want to hit on here. But one of the first things that comes to mind is self-reliance. By America declaring its own independence, we're saying, hey, we're going to be self-reliant. We're not going to rely on a king to make our decisions for us, to tell us what to do, or any handouts from the king, should there be any. We're going to create our own destiny and rely on ourselves and the industry of our own people. And IBC is the same way. It's really a commitment to self-reliance. You got to have the ability to control your own capital. Rely on yourself. So put yourself first. In a sense, trust yourself over trusting other people who may not have your best interest in mind.
Yeah, like Nelson said, it's all about the way you think. The self-reliance is a state of mind, right? It's I'm proud that I haven't taken a handout, right? That's the kind of mindset it is. I don't need these greedy politicians to bail me out, to provide me a guaranteed income or a way of a substandard level of subsistence, right? Which is what Social Security provides and other welfare programs that we've created and that you pay for. So yeah, the mindset, right? IBC, people that practice it, they've been able to turn a switch. I always call it red pilling, even though it's not a political thing. It's just red pilling for finance, right? It's a different way to think. It's a total paradigm shift. And that's why it's not a huge volume of people doing it, right? It's catching on, but we want to make sure it catches on in the right way. But the people that are practicing it, you can just tell them from when they first started to now, like how, and just ask them, if you know someone practicing IBC and you're not yet, ask them how things have changed for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right. Most people don't want to think for themselves, and which is why this appeals to just a small part of the population. I've had discussions with prospects in the past where they say, "Well, I'm more one of those people that just wants to put my money somewhere and let somebody else handle it,
Sure.
and I don't worry about it." And I say, "Okay, that's fine. There's thousands of people that can do that for you. I'm not one of them, so we're probably not a good fit."
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was doing, right? I had my money with some money baby. I haven't used this term on the podcast in a long time, but it was a money babysitter.
Yeah,
They weren't actively managing my portfolio, and of course we have friends that do those things on the other side of the financial space, and they do it quite well.
yeah,
And there's other people that do it well, but this was not actively managed. This was just set it and forget it. But I'm slicing off a chunk for a fee, even though you didn't make any money this year, Paul.
yeah. No, yeah, they did the equivalent of they sent your kids to bed without brushing their teeth, and then they sat on the couch and played on their phone for 3 hours until you got home.
That's right. Like you're supposed
Or
to play
in this
like
case,
3
for
hours
30
of
years.
Monopoly with the children, not sit in
Yeah.
there and swipe through TikTok and stuff.
And
What
then
am I
they didn't
paying
even
me for?
clean up. They didn't even clean up dinner after it was done. You had to clean up when you got home and sent the babysitter home. So yeah, there's another episode. We just created another analogy. So, so let's get back to this one. So personal responsibility. A lot of people don't want to take personal responsibility in any area of their life. They want to rely on, somebody at Wall Street to make their money grow. They want to rely on the doctor to give them the right pill to take away this pain or this disease that they've inflicted upon themselves. They want to rely on the government to provide them an income during retirement or bail them out of a bad situation. It's anything but personal responsibility.
Pay off their student loan debt.
Pay off their student loans.
I'm still not understanding how, in practical terms, that's actually occurring. I haven't really been paying attention to it, but super annoying.
I don't know either. I haven't been paying attention. I heard it's very difficult to qualify for that, which I would hope. I'm sure somebody else is siphoning off the money and embezzling it somewhere in that kill chain before
Right.
it actually gets to the student. But anyway, but personal responsibility is a requirement for IBC. You cannot start working with me or you and say, "Hey, I just want to give you my money. You put it into a policy and you make it work, or maybe you find some opportunities to borrow against my cash value, put that to work so it grows even more." No, we're not doing
Nope.
that.
No,
You
and
gotta
I've
take
done a
personal
couple of
responsibility.
I've done a couple of cases. You're absolutely right. I've done a couple of cases over the years with people that came in with some significant I would say behavior problems. And we don't do behavior modification, right? Our clients by and large they already have established the right habits. We just show them, "Hey, you've accumulated capital. We're just going to show you how to do it better and in the right location." So we don't do a lot of, I would say, Dave, you watch your typical
The
Dave
baby
Ramsey
steps.
30-second
Yeah.
clip, baby step, like, "I'm $85,000 in credit card debt and I make $20,000 a year." Like, that's,
I want you to revolutionize my financial life in 3 years
Like-
or less.
I wish I could snap it and make your behavior
Yeah.
better, because it took bad behavior to get into that. It's going to take good behavior to get out of that.
Yeah.
And, but when when you're able to help someone modify that behavior, it is quite rewarding. But yeah, you need to be responsible, as a
Yeah,
citizen,
and you need-
then a steward of this.
Yeah, and you need discipline. You need discipline to continue succeeding, maintain it, to conquer Parkinson's law.
Yes, Dave, I've watched, during lunch or whatever, you'll click through whatever social media and you'll see a lot of good, like, short clips of, pretty famous people giving some really just whether it's, Jordan Peterson or some other just successful entrepreneurs that are out there, and they give some sage advice, but the common theme is discipline, whether it's their morning routine or their evening routine, or I put down the screens 3 hours before I go to bed, no caffeine 12 hours before I go to bed, whatever it is. Like, they have these just very, Dan Sullivan doesn't watch television. Hasn't watched
Ever.
it in like
Period. Yeah.
forever, like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
So I mean that's crazy, but it works for him, and he's disciplined about it.
Yeah. I like that quote. And I tell this to my boys all the time. You either discipline yourself or get disciplined by the world.
Yeah, oh, it's
Right?
it's such good advice.
Yeah.
And it's true.
It's true, because you will be disciplined one way or another, and maybe somebody breathing down your neck for the rest of your life because you can't do it yourself. And they'll force you to be disciplined.
Yeah. So if you're one of those people like me, it took me 22 years of serving in the Army to realize this. I don't really enjoy being told what to do.
And the older you get, the less you enjoy it.
And unfortunately, my adult behavior has rubbed off on my son. He also doesn't like to be told what to do.
Yeah. That's a tough balancing act, man, because you want to foster that, like that independence, that
Right.
almost a stubbornness, to pursue what you want, but at the same time, like, be respectful and and maybe take advice from somebody who's wiser than you.
Yeah, so what we try to do is, like you said, we balance it, and then but there's sometimes where we have to just stay on schedule, and I have it's, hey man, this needs to be done now. But there's other times where it's a little bit more flexible, and it's like, hey, dude, make your own decision. If you get what needs to be done, you do the trash, the lawn, whatever. You get to do whatever. If those things aren't done, then you don't. Simple.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to do what I say, but you will deal with the consequences.
Right. If you let that $100,000 policy loan ride for a year, well, you just added $5,000 or $6,000 of interest to it,
Yeah.
and you don't have use
Right.
of that money.
There's consequences to everything, action or inaction. You don't have to do what we say, or do what Nelson says, which is what we say. But there's going to be consequences. So be disciplined. And I mean, it really goes back to, and I think we'll kind of get back into the plain honest banker thing with one of these others. But one other similarity I like between America's independence and IBC is, I think it was de Tocqueville who said,
Ooh, wow.
America is great because it's good. When it stops being good, it will stop being great. Which goes hand in hand with another quote. I'm going to chop it up, but it's something like, freedom can only be maintained by a moral people.
Right.
And I think it's the same way with infinite banking. It takes an honest banker to make it successful. You can't just get a policy, fund it, and then do, and then forget all the principles behind it because, I started it, so I'm practicing infinite banking. No, you got to practice it continually. You have to continue being an honest banker, just like American citizens need to continue voting in moral people who make good decisions for the country, or else it's going to fail. Period.
Yeah,
It's a matter of time.
we've been in decline because of that, because we have not had moral people, at the helm for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was Googling Alexis de Tocqueville, and I was like, democracy in America, right? I didn't want to sound silly but yes, I was right. That's what he wrote.
Yeah. I remember
Amongst other stuff, but.
Yeah, there's a really good one, The 5,000-Year Leap. It's a phenomenal book about just the effect of America in the 500 years that people have, since the Pilgrims came over to this country and started this experiment, and it evolved into the United States. The world advanced more in that 500 years than it did for the previous 5,000 years. And it's
Right.
all because of America.
No question. Yeah, the human race was very static because,
Yeah.
you're out there
how
just
many
as a
centuries or
serf,
millennia were they doing
Oh my God,
wooden
just-
boats?
wooden boats, just
Yeah.
using the same
Paddling.
tools and
Yeah.
and until humans were allowed to, hey, I can keep this thing that I made and labored for. Oh my God.
Until capitalism, which
That's
is human nature. human nature is capitalism. You don't have to be taught capitalism. That's just human nature. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to work really hard to provide something good, and I want to be able to keep the fruits of my labor. Because you have a right to your own labor, you should be able to keep the fruits of your labor. When that was unleashed in America, look at what happened. We were in space within a few hundred years.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the amount of years between like the cotton gin with Eli Whitney to putting a man on the moon, and I know some of you don't believe that happened. That's fine.
Actually, there's a new movie. So we went to a movie over the weekend because it was raining all weekend. And one of the previews, there's a new movie coming out, and it was all about them recording the moon landing as a backup to an actual moon landing.
Not that I think it's far-fetched to get all those people to lie about it. I don't.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But a small period of time between Eli Whitney and the cotton gin, that's, I think of the Industrial Revolution and the men who built America with Rockefeller and Carnegie and
that to rocket ships.
Ships.
Very minute in the measure of history. That's a tiny period of time.
It's as Dan Pena would say, the billionaire, it's not a fart in the wind in the cosmos of time. That's
amazing.
It's like a breath.
Right? And apparently knowledge doubles. Last I checked, it was like every 6 months, and it just gets faster and faster. So the advancements are unreal. This AI thing is actually scary if you really dive into it. I mean, that's a whole other subject, but the advancements made there are crazy.
Yeah, and then we get amnesia about other things, or we just forget, right? And those who forget the past were condemned to repeat it. People used to use whole life insurance. It is the traditional place to save money, and it has been since the early 1700s, really, in America, at any rate. Yeah. And then it fell out of favor with Ralph Nader in the 70s and E.F. Hutton and Universal Life and all this other crap. But it's funny, just people forget like how good it actually was. But now people are starting to find it again. It's like, oh my gosh, this is an awesome. The process of IBC is fantastic, and the product using dividend paying whole life to practice IBC is absolutely phenomenal. And it's very encouraging just to see that, especially in this day and age where people are just, they have 30 seconds of attention span and they can't focus on stuff. And so that's encouraging.
And I think that's because trends will come and go, but principles last. And
they're not meant to be
whole life insurance.
That's right.
The principles of what this country was founded upon, like those things last. And if you keep those principles front and center, you have a pretty good chance of being successful. And life insurance has done that. It's changed, like the way the companies have redesigned products and all this, but the principles are the same. Guaranteed death benefit, access to cash value. All you got to do is pay the premium.
Yep. Yeah, it's meat and potatoes. It's super simple. And it's unfortunately, like we've talked about this before. I was, spent the weekend at my parents' place, and I was like, man, it would be great if you guys practiced IBC the last 50 years. It would be great for the entire family, right? The entire family, multiple generations would benefit. And they would be benefiting now.
Yeah. And we did an episode titled something like Why IBC is Great for America. It's great for the country.
Yes.
Like if more people did IBC, it would be better for the country.
Yeah, if it's great, it's by default, it's great for the individual, it's great for a family or a clan or whatever. It's going to, by extension, be great for the community at large, right? No question. And that's what it is. It's a community of people. That's what IBC is. That's what people who own whole life from a mutual company. We don't know most of the owners of the company, obviously, because there's hundreds of thousands of them, right? But it is a community of mostly probably like-minded people contracting with each other, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. Sure is. One of the biggest things is control. So with America declaring its independence, it took control of everything, of the way it governs, of the way the citizens
or did it.
Yeah. But it took control of its own destiny.
Right.
put into
That's
the
right.
hands of the citizens, which gave too much power to the government. But anyway, and IBC does the same thing. It allows you to make decisions because you have control. You can make decisions from a position of strength, just like America does. We sit at a position of strength, and we can make decisions from that position instead of weakness and compromise and giving in.
Yep. I don't think I have anything to add. Control is always the word that we've kind of come back to as our favorite aspect of becoming our own banker is control, because control just kind of touches everything else that we do. And when you're in that position of control, you can make not only decisions from a position of strength, but you're gonna make better decisions ultimately.
Yeah.
Things are going to become either more interesting to benefit you, or some things that might have been interesting to you before, and I'm talking financially, whether you're financing something yourself or you're maybe investing in someone else's talent. Those things might become less interesting. I mean, it really depends.
Yeah, and I think ultimately you become more creative because you're not shackled by so much fear. Really,
Right.
I think that's the biggest creativity killer, is the fear of making a mistake, or the fear of missing out. Those kinds of things. Like, you can be patient. You can actually make a mistake and you can recover. I mean, I don't advise it, but we've made mistakes and we get to recover because, hey, our money was still working inside that policy the entire time, even when we lost it to something stupid on the outside.
Right. Yeah,
You
no
got to make
question.
up for it and put it back in, but it's been working even that whole time.
Yeah, it hasn't interrupted its growth, and that's
Right. It's not
very important.
interrupted. Yeah.
Yep. The loss is less because of that.
Yeah, it's still a loss. It still hurts when you lose to doing something stupid with your money outside your policy. But yeah, it hurts less.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit less. So yeah, yeah, man, I think that's some pretty good analogies. It does come down ultimately to control and personal responsibility. So the more of that you can get, the better.
Yeah, and let's close out, Dave, with just talking about how old the life insurance product is. Like 18th
Yeah.
century in America, early 18th century.
Like, it predates the U.S. Constitution.
By a lot. Not quite 100 years, but close.
Which is why when a lot of people say, well, what if the tax code changes? How is that going to affect whole life insurance?
It's
Well,
not
yeah,
an
there are
exception
some-
to the tax code.
It's not an exception. It doesn't work because of the tax code. It works in spite of the tax code because it was around long before, like 200 years before the tax code
Right.
was in place. So, yeah, it's one of those things that's been around. Times have changed, but whole life insurance is still there.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, all right, man. I think that's good. That wraps it up. So I hope everybody gets out on the water. If you're close to water this week for the 4th, be careful. Lighting those firecrackers. Remember, if you're going to light them in your hand, make sure you throw the firecracker, not the punk, not the lighter. my little brother made that mistake. When we were kids.
So you can't get real fireworks in a lot of, I don't know if it's most states or whatever, but
Yeah.
I think in the South they're pretty free game. But in Virginia, you can't get fireworks here. And we bought some at Costco once, and I was like, oh wow, they're so stupid.
Well, you can't get anything that shoots off the ground in Minnesota. You got to go across the border to Wisconsin,
Wisconsin has them.
and though you can buy anything there.
I think I have
So
to go
that's
to
what
West.
everybody does.
I think I have to go to West Virginia or North Carolina, obviously. South of the border. Ever stop there on the East Coast? It's like it's not what I remembered. It's like, I don't know how it's still there. It looks like it's probably, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, if anyone's been south of the border, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen it lately. It doesn't look like it did in 1988. That's for sure. I remember it being more awesome. It's
Yeah.
not.
Well, you're getting old, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, not as old as you. As we're recording this, it's
Almost.
Dave's birthday. So,
Yeah. Yep. Officially closer to 50 than 40.
right.
Crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, at least you still have your hair.
I do have my hair, and yeah, even if I didn't, I'm sure I'd probably there's got to be some surgery that
Oh yeah,
can
I
help
don't
you
think
out
you,
there.
I don't think you have to be bald now. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that's been around
Yeah.
for years. So, just how much are you willing to pay?
Yeah, yeah, do it. That's a perfect reason for a cash value loan. Go put some hair on the top of your nugget. There you go.
Yeah,
All right.
just pay it back.
All right. Yep, pay back. All right, everybody. Hey, have a great holiday week. Enjoy the independence. Remember what it's all about. And we'll be talking to you guys next week. Until then, control your capital.
Or somebody else will.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to have a conversation with us to see how you can become your own banker, or if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, please send us an email to davidandpaul@theibcguys.com.
And subscribe and leave us a review if you're on Apple. Follow and leave us a 5-star review if you're on Spotify. And please share this with your friends. We'll see you next week.